The post-pandemic labor market frenzy, it seems to be dying down, which means the days of a quiet quitting trend and somewhat simpler job hunting environment, that could be in the rearview mirror. Job openings declined in the latest data to 7.6 million from 8.1 million the month prior. So how can job seekers navigate the changing landscape? Joining me now, we've got Corey Staley, who is the Indeed Hiring Lab economist. Great to have you back on the program with us. Just take us into your best evaluation of this JOLTS data that we've seen come in lighter than expected and a decrease versus the month prior.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Brad. I think what we really saw in this report, again, we saw the overall number of job openings fall off. Some of that can be some of the noise that we tend to see around this. Again, this is a survey of businesses, and they ask you, how many job openings did you have on the last day of December? And so that's the number we're seeing here. So we saw that number fall down a little bit, but I think what's encouraging about today's report and really the last few reports that we've seen, if we look at more of the LT side or the labor turnover side of the JOLTS report, we see that the hires and the quitting seem to be moving sideways. They're still pretty low. They're, near decade lows. People aren't quitting their jobs, finding better jobs at the rates they used to. Employers aren't hiring at the rates that they did a couple years ago. But the fact that we're seeing things move sideways, is a potential good sign moving forward that we might be at an inflection point here.
What is the best estimation as to what this all spells out as well on the wage front as we're pairing the openings with the potential for wage increases, or what that growth figure could look like, especially as we're going to be waiting for ADP's private payrolls numbers this week, as well as the all-important BLS jobs report at the end of the week?
Yeah, when we look at wage growth, again, we've seen the labor market really cool down since early 2022, and that has translated into wage growth. We saw wage growth up near, on our platform, we often look at the posted wage growth and what employers are offering to new employees. We saw that spiking around 9-10%. That's now sitting at 3.1% at the end of December. But what's interesting is that, as I mentioned, we've seen hiring activity, quitting activity start to stabilize. We've also started seeing some stabilizing in wage growth as well. And so I think those are interesting kind of relationships we're seeing there. And as we start to look towards this report Friday, it's going to be kind of maybe a messy one with the BLS numbers, because there's going to be a lot of revisions, both in the company side of the survey, but also in the household side. So it might be a little bit difficult to parse, but there's also been signs in that survey as well with unemployment staying stable, that things, again, may be at this point where they might be poised for a turnaround in the coming months.
Corey, I love the data that you and your team are able to really sift through here and give us a glimpse of the hiring front, especially as we're trying to think about where there are jobs still coming online, where there might be jobs that are posted with no intention of being filled in the near term, these ghost jobs that we talk about. Have you seen a rise in some of those positions where companies want to look like they are actively hiring and put these positions out there, but might not have any intention on filling them immediately and essentially might equate to a stale listing or a relisting?
Yeah, I think the kind of debate around ghost jobs, is really, at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. And I think this comes from the fact that the labor market has cooled so much, right? So if you're somebody who is out looking for a job, it feels much harder now. And, this kind of term of being ghosted, a lot of times you feel like you're maybe just applying for a job, you're not hearing anything, kind of feels like you're putting resumes into the void. And I think that naturally leads people into thinking, this is ghost jobs, this is employers maybe not even thinking about hiring. But I think the interesting thing is a big part of what we're seeing really is that's a reflection of the cooler labor market and also less employer urgency around hiring people. Again, we're starting to see, especially in kind of more traditionally white collar knowledge worker jobs, there's less demand there, and there are still, many candidates for those jobs. And so some of that may also just be a reflection of a shift in urgency and employers saying, we don't need to be so fast to hire for this job. And so maybe in some cases, it's not necessarily a ghost job as much as it is employers just taking longer to work through the hiring practice and the hiring process.
As we are, of course, just early into the year, 1 month into the year, and essentially trying to figure out what may potentially set the tone. Is there any trend that you're seeing in the data that you're evaluating that is beginning to formulate a trend that could have a broader implication for the hiring landscape in 2025 and what employees or potential candidates for jobs should be expecting as they're going in to fill out applications and hopefully get some type of offer?
Yeah, there's a lot of trends that we watch. Again, like I love all of the data that we have to work with the Indeed platform because we not only get insights on job seekers, but we get insights on employers. And I think as we look towards 2025, as a job seeker, the things I'd be thinking about are these few trends. Yes, the labor market is cooler than it was a few years ago. Might be a little more difficult to find a job in 2025, but we've also seen trends around employers asking for generative AI skills. Employers are also peeling back on educational requirements, experience requirements. They're opening up doors that have maybe not been opened up to, many Americans in the past. And, that's a reflection of, yes, things have cooled down, but there is still strong demand for workers in certain areas of the economy. A lot of kind of knowledge worker office jobs have pulled back a lot in demand, but healthcare and a lot of in-person jobs still have a lot of opportunities in the market. So I think in 2025, your experience with the labor market is going to depend largely on the type of work it is you're looking to do.
Corey, thanks so much for taking the time here with us today. Really appreciate it. Would love to check back in the future.
Definitely. Thank you again.
Thanks.